Hey everybody, how you doing? Obviously the big news recently has been the acquisition of Indian Motorcycle out of Polaris Industries. That transaction will complete, I think, at the end of the year, roughly. And this past week I was on a bit of a vacation, just going out and riding motorcycles out in beautiful country out there. Always a good thing to do. In the days that I was gone, and driving back from Colorado to Texas, I had a lot of conversations with friends from Polaris Industries, friends in the industry in general, about what this means. And I heard a lot of different opinions, saw a lot of videos, a few vultures and wankers who are just like, oh man, this is the end of Indian and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, man, you just don't get it. It could have been the end of Harley Davidson, and AMF bought them. We still call them Harley Davidsons. They weren't amps, from back in the day. What's compelling about Indian Motorcycle is the fact that despite the Wigwam shutdown in 1953, the brand was so compelling that it just never left the American scene. So it's really hard to imagine a group of motorcyclists uh, that don't know about Harley Davidson and Indian Motorcycle as American brands. And if you start pressing harder, maybe they'll come up with Buell, maybe they'll come up with Crocker, maybe they'll start coming up with a few, reading standards and some of these other. But there were hundreds of motorcycle brands over the last century, and two are top of mind. So it's important for both Indian and Harley Davidson to do well, and Indian did a lot to spur Harley Davidson on. In fact, in the 10 years I was with Polaris Industries as a contractor doing PR work for Victory, I could have worn my Victory shirt, but there's one of my cool old Victory motorcycle shirts, but I thought I'd bust out my first Indian motorcycle staff shirt that I got. And I'm really excited about what's about to happen. And my analogy, in talking to a friend of mine, my analogy about where Indian is right now is that Polaris Industries is the current generation's parent, and they did an amazing job of raising this child. Gave it a terrific background, gave it all kinds of experience, gave it the stability it needed, and now this teenager is out and gets to take that depth of quality of life in its youth, and now gets to go express it even more freely out on the market. So that's the thing that I'm excited about, is because I remember back when I was 18 years old and out of the house and barely had a pot to piss in, and started to get to define my own life and do my own thing. And that's where I see where the Candlewood era is picking up at the sweetest part of this generation's life of motorcycles. Um, the last few years of Indian Motorcycle have not been as inspiring as that initial launch, and we really took the launch seriously. So I was in charge of a lot of projects. This is a coin that I got to save. This was from a dealerization product. So prospective dealers were shipped this coin, which led you to IndianMotorcyclePride.com. So right away, there was a sense of weight and history and permanence to the brand, with prospective dealers who are incredibly important to reflect on the history and heritage of a terrific motorcycle brand that goes back. Here's a old catalog from 1931 and a bunch of the postcards of the bikes from back in the day. So you can't get away from that history and heritage. And there's a gift until 2053. There's a 100-year anniversary of something. But motorcycling is not just about looking backwards. Indian Motorcycle as an opportunity in looking forwards, and really started to do that. There is a critical path to get there that I hope that Candlewood and upper management like really get, and that is the engagement from existing owners to turn them into the biggest advocates for the Indian motorcycle brand, because you will never find somebody who is more stoked about Indian than the man or woman who bought the bike. So back, when we were doing our launch work and we were writing things like, Polaris is the steward of the Indian motorcycle brand, language I continue to see in a current press release. That was really something important that we wrote in as a talking point. We're stewards of the brand. The brand is owned by American motorcycle enthusiasts, 100%. That is who kept it alive. Steve McQueen, when he wanted a cool motorcycle in the 70s, rode a white Indian chief. The king of cool wants to ride a Indian. Well, that obviously it's staying up in terms of importance in American culture. So engaging those enthusiasts, getting people fired up about the brand, about their experiences, creating group experiences, but also breaking the algorithm, putting your helmet on, getting on a motorcycle and getting out and riding and just being in your own world is important and can be done. Yes, it can be done on any motorcycle out there, but there is definitely something special about that Indian motorcycle challenger position on the market. When we first launched the new generation, the current generation bikes in 2013, on the roof of the Sturgis Motorcycle Museum, specifically stating this is a huge part of history. And we had the Chief and the Vintage, which people fully expected. But we also had the Chieftain Bagger, and that was unexpected, and that really rattled a lot of people. Leading up to that, we had separated the sound of the engine. So it was an American V-twin, clearly in that sound. We engaged Mike Wolf as a spokesperson for the brand, quintessential Indian motorcycle enthusiast. We developed, this is one of my projects that I brought to the board, was the Spirit of Monroe. And how do you introduce a new engine without showcasing it in some chopper or something like that, and and showing your cards? Well, the Spirit of Monroe was an homage to Burt Monroe, and was a beautiful machine that got built by Jeb Skolman, that got recognition in automotive press, and really, it was a nod to history and a commitment to beauty and grace and speed that has continued to be expressed in Indian. Flash forward a year, and we introduced the new Indian Scout. So, and a quick story on that is we're coming back from EICMA in 2013. So I've still got a beer left over from the German crew, a nice Pilsner, which has probably gone bad by now. But anyway, we were on a train coming back, going to visit France. And on a drunken train car ride, I came up with the idea of the first Scout needs to be seen on the wall of death, right? And that's the first time anybody needs to see the Indian Scout. Well, when we sobered up and got back to the States and everything, and I was like, yeah, that's still a good idea. And I'll credit Steve Minetto and Rod Croyce. At first, we're like, yeah, man, that's crazy. But it was exactly the sort of expression. And after we, worked with some people, realized that vision, because it was something uniquely ownable to Indian motorcycle. And so that nod to history and heritage, but paying it forward into the future, I think is really, it speaks back to like being that teenager who's got the great background and is ready to go out in the world and really make a mark for themselves. And that's exactly how I see this era of Indian motorcycle as they creep up to the 15th model year of the current Indian motorcycle, but really goes back to 2011 when Polaris initially acquired the brand and really started to contemplate what it was to be the stewards of American motorcycle history. So I'm really excited about where things can go. There are things that Polaris Industries and engineering and manufacturing, material sourcing, global network, all that sort of stuff that they brought in to Indian that is definitely going to be missed, but again, it's part of the background of the brand. So, you can start to create that again. And then there is a freedom from separating from that larger parent company where now Indian Motorcycle is Indian Motorcycle. So all the naysayers who are like, it's just a Polaris with a badge on it, or all the real dummies who think it's a Victory with an Indian logo on it, which is completely wrong, all of that's going to go away. We've got, when we launched the brand, we had enthusiast leadership in Steve Minetto, a guy who had an iron butt certificate hanging on the wall of his office, okay? A real rider. The Indian Motorcycle brand being led by Mr. Kennedy is going to, again, have an enthusiast leader, somebody who's had decades in the motorcycle industry and who speaks the language, who understands what it is to be a dealer, who understands what it is to freeze your ass off and ride over a mountain pass, and and still enjoy the entire experience and tell the story at the end of the day. That's incredibly empowering for what's happening now with Indian Motorcycle. And I really, really wish everyone who did that parenting work, who created this amazing motorcycle brand that is now on its own and gets a chance to just go out and explore and write its own rules. Everybody from the engineers, the amazing designers, who I'm friends with so many of those people, they're such great human beings. The production folks in Spirit Lake, Iowa, who ensured that these were the best possible motorcycles that they could be. The parts chain people, particularly the dealers, and the service training side of things, blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. Everybody who did an amazing job to elevate the brand through creating a fantastic foundation. Everyone did just an amazing job in doing that. It's time now for Indian to get set free. It's time for enthusiasts to lead. And I really hope that that Candlewood really takes that opportunity, continues to push that out there. And I'm a fan. That's my 1946 Chief custom, obviously, kind of changed some things around. And Indian Motorcycle has always been a huge part of my career, and I really look forward to seeing what the new organization can do with it, and to help change motorcycling for the better, because that's really where I think it is. I think it's important for both Harley Davidson and for Indian to do well. I think it's important for the new Buell motorcycle to find its place. I think motorcycling is in a real shift of demographic and psychographic right now. So it's really important for us as an industry to not just find our slice of the pie, but to just make the frickin' pie bigger. Just make it bigger. If our industry went from 7% ridership in American transportation to 8% ridership, that would be huge for everybody involved. So it's easy to say a rising tide raises all ships, but the fact is that nothing is more compelling than a group of riders on the road, and nothing is more rewarding than putting on that helmet and getting on the bike, breaking the algorithm, choosing your own course, and that's what Indian can do. So looking forward to it. So those are my thoughts this week. Maybe I'll have some more next week. And if you'd like to talk about it, give me a shout. Contact information is there. It's something. You'll figure it out. All right. See you later. Bye.